So now I'm back here at the generator. We kind of put it to the back of the shop because we were working on something else today. And the first thing I would like to explain is the functioning of the three-phase circuit breaker they have in here for your main power output, together with the selector switch, as you can see here. And the way this basically works, this is a 12-pole. That's a very special circuit breaker. This is not your regular circuit breaker you have at your panel at home in your house. This is a 12-pole breaker, and it has 3 fuses or 3 breakers with approximately 37 amps each. And the way they do this is they series these elements through depending on what you select here. So as you can see, we have the nameplate rating up here. You have 104 amps at single phase, 120. You got 52 when you do a split phase, 240, and you have 34.7. So this thing will give you a little bit around 37 amps if you go on 3-phase mode. That means each one of those breakers is going to protect one of the phases here, L1, L2, L3, and you got the neutral, which they label as LO, which in essence is your neutral. And what you want to do is with the circuit breakers, you could probably find some space in this box when you open this stuff here up, and mount it in here, and then you can take these wires off which go underneath here for all 3 phases, don't touch the neutral, and feed them into L1, L2, and L3, and bring 3 new 4-gauge wires up to L1, L2, L3. And then you can wire this thing here. We would recommend at this point to use a 24-volt DC coil operated contactor, and you wire this from here through the box. You will have to drill an additional hole or put another contactor between a cable between here and here, and then you can actually wire this into the circuit board over here to start this up. And then what will happen is, let me show you. This will cause some excitement here too. I have installed one of those cables here. I will show you this in a minute. And basically what we did here is I turned off the breaker, and what happens is the unit is now, the light is on. I don't know if you can see this or not, but basically when I make contact here, now you can hear it. It goes through a cycle, and I'm going to release now the contactors because I don't want to start the engine up. The engine is going to start cranking for its 15 seconds and then stop basically. It's going to go, I think, also into the cool down mode, but I think it will just shut off. We're going to wait now. It is in the preheat and prime. What this looks like when this unit is just operated and the power basically goes out. It goes through the startup phase and then it stops. You can see on how fast this unit actually does start to operate, and we have very little problems. There's really no magic. We have not really done anything. This is the way we got those units at an auction. The label here says it was remanufactured in 2006. We assume that this unit was operated in either Iraq or in Afghanistan, as the entire cabinet still had sand dust in it. So this unit was definitely in operation. But this is sort of on how this works. Once the connection is turned off between the 24 volt, this comes from here where the circuit breakers, which they call the DC control circuit breaker, is basically my supply, comes off the terminal. It is explained in the manual on how to wire this up, and the green wire goes basically straight over here, as you can see, onto terminal number 3. If you leave this on, the unit will run. It will go through its warm-up cycle. Then the relay number 5 is activated, which will turn on this contactor, and that will give you the power. When you turn this off after it is in the full run mode and this has turned on, the first thing what will happen is this contactor is going to be dropped out, so you're disconnecting the load, and then a timer starts to allow the engine to cool down either for 1 or 5 minutes, and then it will shut itself off. That's pretty much what happens. And for the oil protection, is since this unit is has that oil switch in it, if this oil switch doesn't kick in, the unit basically will stop the same way it just did right now, and it will also have a flashing LED. One of the LED, aux fuel we chose was to, it's going to be flashing, and you're going to hear it clicking, and that will tell you that when you started the unit up, there was a loss of oil, or the oil switch sensor went out, it doesn't connect anymore, or you overheated the engine for whatever reason. And all this really does is it prohibits the circuit board from being restarted again with your external switch. So even if you have a fault, or if you have a manual switch somewhere to turn this on, a remote switch, it will prevent this board from starting it. That doesn't mean you still will be able to manually start the seal on your regular, with your regular S1 master switch. What they call it is actually the S1 switch. We also recommend is before you go into remote operation is to run the unit into warm, to run it up to a warm temperature, apply a load to it, and then actually adjust your frequency to probably 62 Hertz with your governor here to adjust this. Yeah, we would say about 62 Hertz, 63 Hertz. That will allow you to have some headroom. When a load kicks in, you won't drop too far below 60 Hertz. And then you just leave it in this position. The governor will automatically set itself, and then the gauges will show 62, 63 Hertz. And you want to adjust your voltage to whatever output you had selected of what power you're operating with, whether it's single phase, split phase, or if you're going to do a 3-phase. On this cable here now, is the way we wired this up, is we don't have a control voltage on here yet, because we would bring these two wires back over here. And if this is a standalone unit, is we would take the L1 after the fuse, where it goes into the contactor, and bring the phase over here, one of the phases, and then that would bring the phase over to our circuit board, and then the white wire would attach to the A1 terminal here on the contactor, and then from the second contact you basically just make a connection over to LO, and that will allow this contactor to be switched on and off automatically from our controlled unit here. If you have any other questions, please feel free to send us an email, and we will be happily, as time permits, to actually answer those emails. Thank you.